Their network distribution to regional sites, they can target local sites, national sites, diversity sites, social media sites, and have very targeted placements and upsells. And combined, that gave them about a reach to 100 million unique visitors on a monthly basis, based upon the thousands of job boards that we either power or have CPC agreements, and as well as the LinkedIn database. So here's some results in terms of revenue from the Waco Herald Tribune. We compared 5 months this year with the same 5 months the year prior. The year prior, of course, they were selling Monster. This year they were selling the Real Match Total Talent Reach product, and they increased their revenue 30%, and that number is just getting bigger. Okay, so increase in revenue, that came by virtue of a switch in their product mix. And one of the things that they did to increase their net income, not just their gross revenue, was to focus more on a single bundle upsell that you can see here. The significant thing they did is they took a Monster upsell at a $57 retail rate and sold instead a Total Talent Reach product at a $145 retail rate. So significantly increased the value. That value came through increased distribution and increased applicant flow. So if you can increase the reach of your job listings, and if you can increase the quality of candidates, you can demand a higher price. And that's exactly what they did at the Waco Herald Tribune. Same kind of story as UT San Diego, where the applicants came from. In their case, 32% came from the local job board site. About 7% came from cross-posting relationships. But 63% of all ad traffic came produced by Real Match, the overwhelming majority through SEM campaigns. Paid search works. Or if you're just sending your listings to Indeed, and they're just part of the 4.5 million job listings on Indeed, if you're just sending them to Twitter and they're part of the X number of jobs on Twitter, you're not going to get the visibility unless you pay to have those pushed to the top of the results. 70% year-over-year candidate database growth was the result. So for them, benefits of selling a recruitment ad network instead of just a local job listing was better reach equals better performance, which means repeat advertisers. Network distribution means higher retail rates. Competitive advantage, a one-stop shop for all job types. Employers are beginning to tell job boards, I really just want to post on 1 or 2 sites. I don't want to have to post on 6 different sites to find the audience and the qualified applicants. And then finally, helping attract and retain new and existing advertisers. So that was the story at Waco Herald Tribune. Our third case study comes from the Indiana Gazette, where they decided to make their value proposition based upon quality applicants. And so we've talked about reach and increasing the reach through job distribution across the web, through LinkedIn integration. Now we're going to talk about how do you make sure that those are qualified candidates. They were running a standard classified system, so they didn't have an employment account, they didn't have a resume database, and they decided to get into the job board business, right? So when they looked at it in the competition, one of the biggest challenges they had was the question, how are we going to compete with Indeed? And if you've got a job board and you're sending your feeds to Indeed, you're simply generating leads for the Indeed sales reps who are calling up your advertisers saying, why would you pay for a local job board when in fact you don't know how many leads you're going to get, how many applicants you're going to get? Why don't you just run a PPP campaign, pay for performance, and you just pay based upon the clicks. Well, when you look at what Indeed's done in the Indiana market, right? Indiana, they had, I'm getting ahead of myself right here. Indiana had over 10,000 resumes already in their database. They had over 14,000 jobs just from Indiana, PA. That's not a big market, right? Indiana, PA, 14,000 jobs. And they were selling this pay-for-performance model. How are you going to compete with that when you're starting from scratch? You have 0 resumes in your database and you've got a handful of jobs. Well, what they decided to do was focus on quality. And the Achilles heel of Indeed is quality. In fact, they'll sell you clicks. They can't tell you whether those clicks are qualified or not. And in fact, those clicks come from a system that's based upon keyword search. If you go to Indeed and you type in systems administrator in Indiana, PA, look at the search results that you get back. The first one, this is sponsored, paid for, behavioral specialist consultant. The reason that job came up top is because it had the word system and it had the word administrator. Okay? Well, that's not a system administrator job, right? And neither is the next one or the next one. So the problem is you have job seekers who are having to dig and find jobs and they're not very qualified. They have no idea whether they're qualified for their position position, but they're desperate. So they're applying to jobs. They're creating a lot of work for recruiters. What we do instead is we provide a matching system, and matching uses science, not search. And that science is based upon a reciprocal matching process. Today, if you go to Indeed or you go to Monster, you type in a keyword search, you get some search results back, you find the job you're interested in, you apply, but you have no idea whether you're qualified for that job, right? Nor do you have any idea whether that employer is interested in you and your qualifications. So that's a one-way search, right? The same thing for the employer. The employer posts a job, and/or they go search Monster database, they search on Indeed, and they've got to find somebody. But when they find somebody they think that's qualified, they have no idea whether that person, one, is alive, secondly, whether they're interested in moving or interested in their particular company. So what we do instead is matching. It's a reciprocal match. You don't get notified. You can submit applications, but you don't get notified until you've been qualified for the job, graded, scored, and ranked, so that every advertiser, when they see an applicant, they know the quality of that applicant. So it's a little bit like a dating game, and if you've heard, eHarmony is going into the job market. eHarmony has a lot of science behind compatibility of people, and it's that same kind of science that we use to ensure reciprocal matches. Well, reciprocal matching works, and this is the result that the Indiana Gazette, for every job seeker that comes that runs a job search, there's a 28% ratio click-through to application for registered users. That means we know something about them, their profile, their skills, their background, their work experience, etc. Versus keyword search, which also runs on their site, which has about a 2% click-through rate. So think about the economics of this. It costs money to attract job seekers to your job board. And if it takes, to get 2 people, if it takes 100 people coming to a job detail page to get 2 conversions, think of the difference between sending 8 people and getting 2 conversions, a much higher ratio. And that apply ratio is key to the operation of the job board. Right? So 14 times more likely. And the reason that it happens is because jobs are just more relevant to job seekers. If you serve them up jobs that are ideally suited for their career path, they're going to respond. So what did they do? Well, they launched a new job board site. This is their careers landing page, and notice the branding here. Post your resume, get matched instantly with jobs. So the whole value proposition was based upon matching, and it's about Indiana County and beyond. One of the nice things about having a recruitment network is you're not tied to a local particular area. You can have jobs perform even outside the reach of your newspaper. Now what's cool about matching is that it's ideally suited for mobile. And we saw a demonstration yesterday of the form factor for mobile and why that doesn't work for some applications. Keyword search is very cumbersome on a mobile device. You have to go to a mobile device and you have to search. It takes a lot of time. It's tedious, faceted search just simply doesn't work on mobile devices. So what they're doing instead is through push notifications, they serve up a list of highly relevant jobs. So if I'm a software developer, this is a representative list, and notice the indication as to whether or not my profile determines whether I'm a great match for this job. So I'm not applying to jobs I'm not qualified for. So I have a high indication of which jobs I'm qualified for. I select one, I can read about the employer, the employer profile, and then the system will automatically generate qualifying questions because we know that job posting has a few additional requirements that was not in that candidate profile. So instead of allowing somebody to submit an application where they're not qualified for the job, but there's a gap in the requirements, we simply ask the job seeker to fill in the gap. So have you performed a similar job in the past? There's one such question, additional questions about education level, language proficiency, and then you're submitted. And the cool thing is you can submit uninterrupted on the mobile device. Right? You don't have to get redirected back to your website and where you finish the application process later. So benefits to matching value proposition. This is what the Indiana Gazette told us was the benefit of going out to their market with a matching sell. And as it saves advertisers time and drives repeat sales. Better performing ads with higher click-through rates, 14 times higher than what they had previously, increased number of qualified applicants. This is very important for recruiters, less time spent on sorting through resumes, and satisfied, loyal, returning advertisers. What they experienced was a 138% increase in revenue, and that's pretty good. Last case study that we have is with Roanoke. And they decided to target particular industries that they didn't have visitors